Good morning. What's up, guys? We are live. Hope you're all having a good morning here so far. Let's get after it here today. So, take a look up top here. I want to look at the 5-minute chart to begin here. A big old pop and drop. Hey, I know, I sound like a broken record. Range market, right? Looks like, hey, this is going to be a big trend day. We're trending to 23.9 today, aren't we? No, we're right back to 22.9, and it is still a range market. I mean, we look at all time frames here. 5-minute top left, 2-minute top right. We're going to execute off the 2-minute chart here today, do some scalping, put our head down, get some work done. Daily on the bottom of your screen. That shows the New York session only. And you can see the breakout has not come yet. So, we have to always assume, right? Every breakout attempt, of course, probability just says a very high probability that every breakout attempt is going to fail. Of course, not every breakout attempt will fail. Eventually, we're going to see one succeed. However, for me, big breakout attempts right now, I have to assume that they're going to fail if the setup is there, okay? Because the probability says, hey, there's edge in assuming it'll fail right now, whereas in a trend market, there's edge in assuming pullbacks will not turn into reversals, right? That's not the market we're in right now. So right now, we have to bet on breakouts failing. All right, good morning, guys. How we doing? Bruce, Giovanni Joe, good to see you. Kalinow, how we doing? Jason, John, Javaz, Maury, what's up, guys? What's up, guys? Good to see you. All right, so we're getting a decent little mix here of bear bars and bull bars, of course, in this clean little downtrend. A lot of times these turn into flat, sideways trading ranges, right? We've seen that a lot in both directions. Clean upside moves turns into a trading range. Clean downside moves turn into trading ranges. We've been seeing that a lot as of late. So keeping an eye out for that, but I'm not against trading with the move, right? Just can't ask for too much. You start asking for too much, you start getting into breakout territory. We know how that's likely to work out here in a range market. Tony, Venny, Score, Marshall, Peter, what's up, guys? Good to see you. All right. So right now, just looking for a scalp setup, man. Basically anything that's closing outside of the previous bar, within reason, that doesn't have too aggressive of an opposing view. Okay, 1 second here. There we go. All good on the stream? I think we should be all good. I think we had some glitching going on. Are we good now? I think we're good. Let me know. All good. Thank you, guys. So basically, I'm just looking for any scalp again that's closing outside within reason without a very strong opposing view. Anything that I think, hey, you know, based on what I've done in the past, I think there's a little bit of edge here I'm going to put on. Okay, so we have 47 seconds left on this 2-minute bar. Again, I told you guys we're probably going to be executing all day today off of the 2-minute chart. Scalping, see what we can do. 30 seconds out here. Now, most of my decision making I would anticipate here today is going to be done on bar rollovers on the 2-minute chart, of course. That happens once every 2 minutes. A rollover is just the close of a bar into the open of a new bar. Except for managing. Managing I can kind of do. I give myself a little more leeway, especially taking profits. Book it while it's there. That's not to be confused with the old, you know, adage like, green is green, always got to take green. No, because if the numbers don't work out, they don't work out. Gets people in trouble. If you're saying I'm going to risk a full bar to try to make half a bar leaning into negative reward to risk scalping in a range market, which I prefer to do, you guys know that by now. Don't be taking it off at a third of the bar, or or a quarter of the size of a 2-minute bar, unless you need to, as far as managing early based on the price action. But that's the only reason. Otherwise, you start getting yourself in trouble, I think. Scott, with your trading with scaling horizontally, how long did it take you to get past the buffer zones on your multiple? It depends on the account, Scott. I've talked about this before. I think it makes the most sense not to try to pass 20 Apex evals in one day. I think what makes the most sense, if we think about what's going to even out the equity curve the most, and this is what I think you should do, it makes the most sense as far as bootstrapping it also, is just have a system. If you say, okay, Mondays and Thursdays, I'm going to spend the afternoons trading evals. And you trade maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe you trade them separately, maybe you copy trade them, whatever. But you pass a new funded account here or there, a couple times a week, maybe 3 times a week, maybe every day for a little while. You're trading evals in the afternoon. And then the point is you're getting new starting points, different starting points in each new funded account, so that one bad day or a single copy trader, I really hate to put this out there, but a simple copy trader glitch doesn't wipe out all 25 of your accounts at once. Emotionally, that's going to send you into a spiral, most people. Okay, so again, it's going to depend on the account, how long it could be. A couple of days, could take you weeks, depending on your performance early on the new funded account. It's just get a different starting point for each account, which means trading evals probably a few times a week while you're scaling. And then you can ease up and maybe trade them a couple times a month longer term, which is where I'm at. Roaring, evals like tests to pass the prop accounts to get funded. Evaluations, right? Evals. Chris, Trading Chris, good morning. All right, we got a minute 10 out on this 2-minute bar. Again, pretty much just looking for anything I can do here. You guys know what I'm looking for at this point, I think. Yeah, and Scott, also, well, all you guys, really, if you're trying to scale, again, scaling horizontally, it makes by far the most sense, meaning trading small across many prop accounts rather than trading really big per account over just a few prop accounts. That's vertical scaling. Doesn't work very well in prop. Does not work very well, no matter who you are. I don't care how good you are. The best trader on the planet is going to lose, 6 trades in a row sometimes. It's just the way it is. And, a lot of people trade these funded accounts with size that they can only lose 2 in a row. It's like, what are you doing? It's not going to work. I don't care how good you are. So you got to trade small per account, and then how do you make the numbers big as hell? You go sideways. You scale to more accounts. All right, we're a minute 35 out here from the close of this 2-minute. Let's see. To me, clearly, I feel like I don't even need to draw this because I know what everyone's looking at. Everyone's pretty much looking at something like this, more or less, and probably something like this. Don't overthink it. Just draw what you think the average of everyone's going to look at. So, again, that's very obvious. That's very obvious, so we're going to get rid of this. Oh, this must be part of the new Ninja Trader update. I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's part of the new update, I guess. Skibo requested a payout tonight. Plan to use it for activating another past eval. There you go. See, there you go. That's bootstrapping. Good way to go. All right, 15 seconds left here on this 2-minute bar. Big pullback. Honestly, if we got a big, not big, but had we seen this 2-minute bar, top right of your screen, close up here, I would not actually be getting long. I would have sold that. But we got a little too much of a wick back. So gotta hold off. Next bar here, minute 43 out. Yeah, you see that now we're getting that pullback right back into the range a little bit. A few points, 10 points. Most of my entry decisions here are going to be made on rollovers again, and then management can be made whenever. All right, 30 seconds. Kind of in the top region here of this descending little channel. It's kind of tight. However, in this volatility, it's not too bad. Volatility is actually not half bad today. ATR is about 22, 21 and a half. This channel is about 30 points. So I want to see here. Let's see if we get a close near the low here of this bear bar. Not bad. I have a limit order out to sell, and there we go. I am filled. I'll get it on screen here in a second to show you guys. There we go. And there you go. Sitting short. Again, this channel here, little confirmation bar. Let's see if we can get a push down to the low end of the channel and pull it off for a small little scalp. Yeah, I'll take that 9 points. Move on. Okay, it's about 800 bucks, maybe 8 points after slippage on the entry. 800 bucks, let's move on. When it works, man. That's what you want in scalping. You want your idea. You know, we've had some trades, man, that take their time in the lower volatility, but I'm excited. I think we're probably going to see volatility pick up a little bit here once summer becomes more of old news. But you want your scalps to work fast. They're not always going to, of course, but if they're not working quickly after a bar or two, I start to think about, all right, am I going to have to manage this early? And that's okay. But that one, of course, that works very quickly. That's kind of what you want a scalp to do. And again, that's kind of why I wait for the rollover, because that gives me a more favorable timed entry. Never going to be perfect, right? But we do the best we can. All right, a little wick back here inside of these candles. Can't do it. Next bar. Good morning, good to see you guys. You long or short today? I'm not in and always in position currently. But I just took a quick little short scalp to break the ice here. Now just looking for the next opportunity. What's up, Progress? How we doing? Good to have you. Okay, so now what I start looking at here is, you see this? Right, and again, please, if you're a regular around here, you understand this. But if you're a little bit newer here, please don't take when I draw a damn line on the chart as like this. If it touches this, I'm getting long. Ridiculous mentality. We're looking at what are the bears looking at, what are the bulls looking at, and then we're scalping, right? So I have zero bias. I do not care. If a short setup presents itself and it's clean and I think I have edge, I put it on. If a long setup presents itself, I put it on. I'm not coming into any day like I really think today is going to be up 6%. You just get burned. That's the Wall Street Bets mentality, and look at the average performance of a Wall Street Bets user, right? You get burned. Trying to play, have big directional biases midterm. Very, very short term. Swing trading, intraday, and scalping, yes. Based on the price action setups, yes. But once your trade is over, it's over for a reason. You reset back to zero. Okay, now in a trend market, it's helpful to say, okay, it's clearly a trend market. But in a range market, seriously, guys, best thing you can do for yourself in a range market, which we're currently in. I mean, hell, look at the 5-minute chart. We really tried this morning to break out, didn't we? And everyone said, yeah, I don't know. Look at the daily bottom of your screen. Yeah, probably a range market. Let's fade this back down. Right? So, best thing you can do for yourself is reset your bias after every single trade, in a range market especially. Very important to do so. So anyway, with this line drawn here, I'm looking at this and saying, okay, you know, the bulls are looking at this. The bears are probably going to hesitate to short because it's so damn obvious around here. And the bulls are looking at it like, yeah, I have a little bit more confidence to buy when we're down near this region. However, now, we just talked about this when I went on live, right? Right away. You get these clean pushes, and then oftentimes they turn into sideways trading ranges. We've been seeing that for the last like month. So now we have to start considering, hey, maybe, right? Maybe instead of this, maybe, right? And then when this breaks, either you get that second leg down or you revert back to the mean. Again, range market, you got to think about that. So that's the thought process right now. So right now I am in buy high, sell low with half decent setup mode. Tom, can I ask why you prefer to take 50 micros instead of a few minis? Because I'm scaling horizontally across many funded prop accounts, right? So, I'm trading very small in each prop account, and then you scale horizontally. Right now, if I was trading 5 funded prop accounts, I guess you could say, well, trade 1 mini in each. That's too big. The prop firms are betting that you have too big of an ego to drop down to the micros. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but it seems like the people that make money consistently trading prop are usually trading micros. I don't think that's a coincidence. Now, you could say, oh, well, you know, so-and-so makes a bunch of money and, you know, they're always trading 15 minis per account. It's like, all right, fine. But I don't know. I mean, let's look at that for a second. It's like if you lose 2 trades in a row, even on the biggest accounts, the account's gone. Show me a trader who's not going to lose 2 in a row. I will lose 7 in a row, right? But then sometimes we make 12 in a row, like last week. So, or maybe the week before. Got to give yourself room. I think 1 mini 1 mini is too big for most prop accounts. Those firms are betting. They're hoping that your ego is too big. Chris, hey Nico, just hit my 3K profit target on Take Profit Trader. I can just flip a micro tomorrow to satisfy the 5-day rule, correct? Yeah, that's what I've been going with. Yeah, if you hit that rule and you still have to hit the 5-day trading rule, I just flip a micro. Just buy, sell quick. Good work, though. Good work, man. A funded Take Profit Trader account, which, by the way, is still... I don't know how much longer. They have not told me. But Take Profit Trader is still 40% off and no activation fee. The activation fees alone is 130 bucks. And on top of that, you get 40% off the upfront test fee when you use code BIG. So, but a funded Take Profit account is a hell of an asset. Even just one, man. Daily payouts, it's crazy. Joe, do you know if Apex is thinking about a straight to funded option? Not that I've heard of, but yeah, maybe if they can make it work with the business model. Not that I've heard of though. But what I have heard is Apex announced, I think it might have been this morning or late last night. They extended this, well, it might have been late last night. They extended the sale. So Apex is still 80% off and single day pass. And they extended that for another week or two, I think. Couple of weeks maybe. All right, so we gotta watch. You know, I mean, obviously, this is going to sound like, well, duh. But hear me out. I mean, this flat bottom, there's two options. Either we test a hard break, and all of a sudden maybe it turns back into this. Or, it's uncommon to hold a flat bottom like this super clean and then just bounce up out of the hole. That doesn't happen that often. Usually you get at least some kind of hard test break. And then it's like, do the bulls reverse it because they remember, hey, it's a range market. Yeah, see, like that, like this. You get a hard test break, did not hold it clean. Now it's a question of, does this flat bottom still remain a thing? Or on a lower time frame, this is gonna be a wedge, right? I mean, if we look like at the 2-minute chart, I'm sorry, we're already on a 2-minute chart, but on the 5-minute chart, you can see it's kind of hard to see what you're looking at. But again, this is already a 2-minute chart. I'm used to looking at the 5-minute here. This is a wedge. Right now, even on a lower time frame, like 1 minute or 15 seconds, it's going to be even more aggressive. And then you see this break. It's like, okay, does this return to here, or do we break the top of this wedge to return back to kind of a sideways trading range? That's what I'm thinking about right now. We have 50 seconds left here on this 2-minute bar. And it depends how this bar closes for me to decide what I'm going to do. But let's get rid of this, clean this up, and watch here. 30 seconds out. You see this? I mean, bull's wicking it right back into the little range. All right, little doji. On to this next bar here. Let's see how this closes. If we had a small little bull bar, by the way, closing near the top of this range, I'd be willing to bet against that. Descending resistance break. But gotta wait till the close. Minute 30 out. Okay. 35 seconds. Now we are getting these little dojis. Okay, so it seems to me like this flat bottom is reasonably holding, but we did see the hard test. Let's see here. We got 20 seconds. I'm not against shorting a strong bull close in a range market like this. Let's see what we get. If it rips a little higher, I'm gonna have to hold off, but yeah, I'll bet against that. I'm gonna bet against that. I'm gonna keep risk pretty damn tight. I'm gonna risk there. I'll keep this limit open, and we will drive manually. So there you go. Cut it early if necessary. Risk is pretty damn tight though. Only about 20 points, a little more. Bulls taking it into the EMA. Again, I don't care too much about the 20 EMA I hear on the 2-minute. All right, we got 30 seconds left here on this 2-minute bar. A strong close that doesn't stop me out. Again, this is my protective stop. But if we still get a strong close, I will close early here. But if we get a big pullback here on this wick in the next 12 seconds, I'll have to leave this trade open. Let's see how the bulls close this up. Yeah, it's reasonable. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it. All right, moving on. Reasonable close out of the bulls. On to the next. Again, bias is flat. I do not care which direction as long as we get a trade. With scalping, man, it's about sample size. You have a little bit of edge over a lot of different trades. Now, obviously, you guys have heard me say this before. I think overtrading really only exists if you give up your long-term edge to take more trades. If you have even a small edge that covers your commissions, if you have a small edge or any edge at all, and I mean, I'm just going to use a dramatic number. If you take 150 trades in one day, every loser online is going to say, you overtraded. They clearly don't understand the math. If you have edge, you did your job. That was the right thing to do. Does the blackjack table ever say, nah, we're not going to deal you any more hands? You're playing within the rules, but we don't want to deal you any more hands. No. If they need to, they adjust the rules, but the rules are already set. At any regular table, the rules are set, man. They're going to keep dealing until you give it all back. Same with trading with edge. If the setup is there, you put it on. If you don't, you didn't do your job. All right, 20 seconds out here. Let's see if we get a close on this bar. Five seconds. Yeah, kind of a weak pullback. Big wick in relation to the full size of the bar. Gotta hold off. You see this, we're taking out wick highs. The bulls at least have that under their belt. Now remember here, the 5-minute 20 EMA, if you take a look up top, here, let's just look straight at a 5-minute chart. The 5-minute 20 is at about 87-ish. That's okay. But I want to be aware of where it is, 85, 50-ish now. 50 seconds left here on this 2-minute bar. Yeah, Taz, man, YouTube is an engagement platform today. So when you tell it to do something by like the bell, it sometimes fails to do so unless you interact commonly with the content you like, is what I've noticed. That's a change they've made in the last couple of years. Okay, let's see what we get. Yep, good close. I gotta buy it. I will put my protective stop order there. See if we can get a push. A little bit of a push, not too much. Few strong consecutive bull bars. Good, just driving manually here with hotkeys. I've got my orders out in case we get news or something crazy, but certainly doesn't need to go to either side. Oops, hang on. There you go. There you are. Gotta get used to popping up the open P&L. Yeah, there's a push, huh? Rollover of this bar coming shortly. Let's see. Yeah, a bit of a wick, but not a half bad. Not half bad as far as the close out of the bulls. Not great. Could be better. What's ATR? ATR is currently about 18. Come on, bulls, hold it together just a little longer for me. That's not what I like to see. Let's see it pop up through about 10 points in the money. Yeah, taking it bar by bar here. We got a minute 50 left here on this 2-minute bar. That last bear bar is not, it's just not enough for me to cut it early here. And if, you know, something you got to think about with prop trading is if you do have to cut something kind of right above break even, that can be an issue. Because in hindsight, when the rep who maybe does or does not trade comes and looks at your trades, they might say, you know, you're taking some really small winners. And I'd say, well, I'm cutting it. Depends on the rep you might get, but you know, this is Apex, right? This is not really like take profit. But Apex has that minimum reward to risk ratio rule. You can't have a less than 1-to-5 reward to risk when it's all said and done, including commissions and all that. So cutting things really, really barely in the money, you gotta do what you gotta do, but it might cause a problem if you're doing that really consistently when it comes to payout time. So it's just kind of another hoop to jump through, but it's not that big of a deal, really. All right, about a minute 30 left here on this 2-minute bar. Again, we're driving manually, man. $60 seconds here left on this bar. Gonna see how this one closes here. And fingers on the hotkeys. That's a pretty strong wick back upside, man. Let's see how this closes. 18 seconds. It's gonna close with quite the wick. Gotta leave it. Gotta leave it. Next bar. All right, 90 seconds out here. So at best so far on this little scalp, we've been about a little more than 10-ish points in the money. That honestly though, that pop up through 10 was very, very fast. Best that I really could have taken at this point was maybe 9.25 points. But that's not quite enough. Not quite enough for me. But when you're scalping, man, little bad habits will kill you. All right, about 30 seconds left here on this 2-minute bar. Minute 15 here. Again, early loss cutting decisions for me get made on rollovers, if necessary. Meaning, essentially, hey, if I'm sitting long, for example, like I am in this trade, and a short setup presents itself while I'm in the trade that I would say, yeah, if I was flat, I would have to take that short. Then boom, I cut it. But obviously I have my protective stop. I have my, I guess you could say, hopeful take profit. That's really only there for in case we get news. Aside from that, it's manual. 30 seconds out. Let's see how this bar closes. Again, really only got to cut it if it's a short setup that I would put on if I were flat. So I will be ready to cut it, but that wick back upside is stopping me from doing so far. Five seconds. Nope, not there. Gotta leave it. What's the minimum points for scalping? By the way, we got a minute 20 left on this 2-minute bar, so we're good to answer a quick question here. Protective stop is, ooh, that's not what I like to see. Okay, that's gonna take us out there. And we are flat. Let's move on. Minimum points for scalping. I take a lot of wins, small wins, 50, 60 bucks on funded take profit trader. Do you think that will be an issue when payouts come around? At take profit trader, no, unless you're running like a ridiculous algorithm that's taking 400 trades a day at like 1 to 100 reward to risk, you're probably fine. At Apex, maybe. If you're less than the 1 to 5 reward to risk, yeah, that might be an issue at Apex, but at take profit trader, nah, I think you're good. As long as the only rules they really have at take profit trader are don't trade around news that they deem is off limits. Don't trade more contracts than what your account would allow. Don't hold trades after, like overnight, essentially, like through the 1 hour close. And there's one other rule that's less relevant, I think. I forget what the other rule. Oh, it's the drawdown. Yeah, don't break your drawdown. That's it. That's it. That's all they run at take profit. Okay, so big wick back upside here. I am watching to see. Again, bias is completely flat. When the trade gets taken off, it got taken off for a reason. So now I'm just waiting for the next little setup to come around here. And we'll put it on. Now, I've never used the Tradeovate copier. I am using the Affordable Indicators copier currently. ATR is sitting around 18. Gotta be propped up by this bar here. Okay, 15 seconds out from the close here of this 2-minute bar. Let's see here. A lot of nothing from me. Let it roll over onto the next. All right, 65 seconds left here on this 2-minute bar. We're getting a ton of inside closes, so with all these inside little closes, there's really not anything I can do. There's always a new opportunity on every 2-minute bar, so let's see if we can get kind of an outside close on this one. Really, for this, I'd be looking for a close above this wick. This wick complicates things, honestly, this big one to the downside. But if we're looking upside here, you know, a lot of people would argue, you know, bull flag on a smaller time frame here, like the 2-minute. Which is fine. You guys know I'm not huge on the traditional chart patterns. But you gotta understand what people are looking at. Do you trade MES? I'm currently trading MNQ. I'm not against MES. However, for scalping, MNQ tends to be the more efficient product as far as commissions. All right, we got a minute left here on this 2-minute bar. 5-minute, honestly, I mean, if you look here at the 5-minute chart, we're kind of getting hung up at the 20. I don't imagine it'll last very long. It's really not that big of a deal. But you know there's a lot of people watching it. So we should understand that it's there, at least. Me too, Justin. Jason says, I was in profit 2K, now I'm down 1.8K. You know what? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? The game of trade, you just have to keep making good decisions. Don't worry about the P&L intraday. It really just doesn't matter. What matters is you continuing to make the best decisions you possibly can every time it's time to make a decision. And then the P&L at the end of the day is like a performance marker, sure. But you could do every right thing according to plan that pays your bills and still be red at the end of the day. Even taking, 10, 15, 20, 25 trades. It's just a sample size question. That's it. That's it. A wick like this can happen to you, right? Wicks down, stops you, pulls back up. Tough shit. It's going to go the other way too. Put your head down, make good decisions. You'll get paid by the end of the week, at least the end of the month, when the sample size plays itself out. Everyone's so emotional, man. This is the big leagues. You want to play in the big leagues? You want to be getting paid like the big leagues? Because that's what it can pay you. You got to take it on the chin when it doesn't go your way. Alright, here comes the rollover of this bar. Still an inside close. Nothing I can do on this bar. On to the next. Alright, I will be back in a minute or two. I gotta grab some coffee. Right back. All right, we are back. Nico, do you trade micros when you were trying to pass your evals, or do you trade minis? When I'm trying to pass an eval or a test, I trade minis. Opportunity cost is very real, and if you're somebody who's taking payouts, especially consistently, my approach to this is the evals are too cheap to spend any considerable amount of time worrying about them, especially like days, weeks. Obviously with take profit trader, you have to trade them for 5 days. But dude, with Apex evals, I mean, come on, they're so cheap. If you're taking payouts consistently, your business model is probably worse off if you're trading 2 micros in a eval and trying to pass them within 2 months. Right, now, opposite trains of thought. Again, I'm the first guy to tell you, scale horizontally when it comes to the fundage. Trade small and trade many. Okay, we got 35 seconds left on this 2-minute bar. But when it comes to evals and tests, opportunity cost is very real. Make the good business decision. All right, let's see what we get here as far as a close. That is a stop limit sell. Boom, plant that there. Let's see if we get a fill. I will give that maybe 20 seconds. Boom, and we are filled. I will risk the signal bar. See if we can get a decent little scalp here. Finger on the trigger, ready to pull it if I need to. There's a decent close out of the Bears. Not bad. We'll pull it at 10 if we can get a fill. There we go. We are out. All right, move on. Yes, micros. I'm trading micros. If I'm ever trading minis, I will tell you. Just assume, though, that if I don't clarify, just assume the number is micros. Yeah, Chris says, do you set your targets and stops based purely on price action? I set my stops based on the price action, yes. Or do you use a formula with the ATR as well? So my stops get set by price action, and then take profits are a mix of robotic. Let's say if I'm risking, if the signal bar is smaller than the average bar lately, which is the ATR, then I'm really looking to risk about the average size of a 2-minute bar. Again, this is range market scalping on the 2 minutes specifically, to make about half the size of the 2-minute bar. In that case, I wanted to be able to risk the whole signal bar because that's what makes sense for me. So I'm looking to get maybe a little bit more than half. So we got like 10 points on that scalp. Of course, you know, half of the current ATR would really only be about 7, maybe 7.5 points. So there you go. One sec, right back. And we are back. Mark, when I watched you a few weeks ago, you always had an arbitrary take profit and stop loss of 40 points. Yeah, that was a few months ago. Now you're scalping and taking off earlier. How come? Market conditions. If I was running a 40-point stop and take profit in this range market, I would be losing money out of my ears. So we don't do that. Gotta adjust based on the condition. So when you're in a range market like this, put your head down, scalp. Lean on price action. Lean on negative reward to risk. If all of a sudden the market started trending hard as hell, I might put a trade on and leave it on for 3 hours. If nothing tells me I gotta take it off, right? It would have to be trending really hard for me to do that. And then you start opening the door to, okay, do we scalp around the core? Okay, but I know that a lot of you are probably used to seeing people never adapt as far as trading online. Probably because they haven't learned that they need to yet. Okay, again, not talking about anyone specifically at all. I'm just saying I think that the trading space on YouTube will mature over time. It's just not necessarily there yet. And I'm not saying I'm always learning. I will learn until the day that I stop trading, which will probably be the day that I die. But you have to adjust to market conditions, seriously. The number one thing that you can do to make your trading better is to try to recognize the market environment early. Meaning, bottom of your screen, what's the market inertia on the daily chart? Range or trend? Okay, it's a range. Now, intraday, what is it? It's currently a range. So we have range and range. What does that mean? Well, put your head down and scalp. Price action scalp, right? In a trend market, if it's a big ridiculous trend on the daily, big ridiculous trend on the intraday, now you have trend and trend. That's not right now, but humor me for a second. You have trend and trend. Now it's buy above any bull bar closing near its high and don't cut it until you get a short setup that you would take. Right? I mean, best thing you can do. Now, unfortunately, most traders are just take this setup every day and make a living. Good Lord. I mean, come on, guys. This is really hard, which is why I can pay you so much damn money, because it's really fucking hard. Right? So Do what's necessary. Do what's needed from you. Recognize the market environment. Take the setups that you know have edge for you in specific market environments and only apply them when the market environment is present. Right? Buy low, sell high mentality. I shorted this, for example, because there was still plenty of room within the range. But if we got this bear bar closing near the low, at the very bottom of a trading range, I would not be shorting it. I would be buying that if I were doing anything. Context. Context will pay you. Nothing else will. The setup is not, God. It's ridiculous mentality. It completely ignores the most important thing, which is the market environment. Markets have inertia. Markets are resistant to change. They don't want to change until they need to. Range markets tend to keep ranging. Trend markets tend to keep trending until something else happens. Christopher, what kind of market is this? It's a range market on the daily and a range market intraday right now. Now, the intraday assessment can change at any time, but currently it's range. The more you think about this, it's second nature. It's second nature. You sit down and within 15 seconds, your eyes adjust and you know what you're looking at. As far as market conditions, right? And then you try to make the best decisions you can. You win some, you lose some, but you have an edge that plays out when the sample size plays out in a bigger way. Right, you might lose after 15 trades, but after 15,000 trades, if you have an edge, you are going to make money. Probabilities. The probability is you're going to make money. Good to have you, True. Joe, with the extension of the Apex deal, he's talking about 80% off and single day pass with code BIG, of course. Damn right, best deal always. With the extension of the Apex deal, it's not worth to stay in evals anymore. You're right, Nico. Go hard. If you fail, pay the $30 for the 50K evals and go hard again. Get out of evals, yes. Yes, the one thing that I would add to that, Joe, is if you're like brand new, like if this is your second day ever of trading, learn the lesson without the scar, so to speak. You can spend $30 on an eval, trade one micro, you have a little bit of money on the line, but you're trading so small that you're able to take deep cuts and say, that was stupid, I won't do that again. And you're not losing any more than $30. It's kind of like a hack to learn for very, very cheap and leave yourself exposed a tiny bit. So you take it seriously because you have $30 on the line? I get it. That's not why you're here. You're here to make millions of dollars, but so is everybody else. And everyone else, when it's your day two, everyone else is better than you. Okay, this is one of the most competitive spaces in the world because there's so much damn money at play. So you have to be very good, and it's very hard, and it's a daily challenge. And you will continue to learn 30 years from now, as I will, as everybody in this space will. Make little adjustments as necessary, and just keep trying to maintain the edge, right? Because the edge is what pays you. The edge is what pays for your lifestyle. It's what lets you leave money behind, right? More importantly, it's what lets you have freedom of time. If you only want to work a couple of days, that's great, right? But you have to have the edge. Without the edge, none of that happens at all. You just slowly bleed into the market forever until you decide, okay, this is fucked. I'm going to develop a real edge here. How do you do that? Everything that I've said thus far. Panther, good to see ya. We need more retail traders. It's fucking embarrassing, I gotta be honest with you. There are so few retail traders. We need more. A lot of inside closes here. That last bull bar kind of middle of the range. Had to hold off 2 bars ago. 5 seconds out, here comes the rollover of this bar. More retail traders. What is that going to do? Put more money into small communities? Pull money off from earning a yield on Wall Street? They won't even notice, but it can change communities. Fix the horrendous reputation that retail traders have. Retail traders are the laughing stock of the entire market, let's be real. It does a lot of things. It does a lot. Now, trading itself doesn't provide any value at all. Let's not pretend. And if you go full time, you're going to realize that, and then you're going to feel obligated to do something that does provide value, whatever that may be. So if you make $8 million a year as a retail trader, maybe you go and, devote your life to your kid's high school. I don't know what you want to do, but it does a lot because it pays so damn well that it spreads money out. The trading itself does nothing. The money becomes a tool to do a lot with. All right, we got 23 seconds. Let's see how this bar closes. Big wick back 10 seconds out. Yeah, nothing there. Closing right at the wick of the previous bar. All right, next bar it is. Yeah, Joe, again, if you're newer here, this is my thought process on this. If you're just getting started and you're looking at this, you're like, man, okay, how can I use the prop trading opportunity that currently exists in this very moment? People say, well, our prop's going to be around in 8 years. I don't know. Who gives a shit? It's here now. Make as much as you can now and worry about 8 years and 8 years. I mean, I think people get stuck on, well, the opportunity's not going to exist in 27 years. It won't matter. If it goes away, you pivot. That's life as anyone who does anything entrepreneurial at all. If it lasts longer than you thought, great. You've had more time on the train, so to speak. But if you're sitting here, you're like, I want to go full time. I think the quickest way to do it, if you have any kind of reasonable expectation that you have a statistical edge, is start with Take Profit Trader, pass, get a few pro accounts, then they let you do daily payouts. Get money coming into the bank. Okay, it'll cover some bills. Maybe all of a sudden you're like, shit, I made more last month with just at Take Profit Trader than I made at my job. Month 3 comes around, you're like, now I made a lot more at Take Profit Trader than I made at my job. Now it's time to scale it huge. Now you max out Take Profit, 3, 4, 5 pro accounts, whatever, pro plus accounts, whatever. And then you scale at Apex, because Apex, it takes a little bit longer to get your money. Okay, you can't really bootstrap as efficiently at a firm like Apex. Take Profit is fantastic for just getting you full time, and then Apex you can scale to 20 accounts, and then it's off to the races. Now you go to Bullinox, now you go to Tradeify, whatever. But I think that's the best course of action if you're like, okay, I think I have an edge. It's time to try to take this full time. That's what I would do. A lot of inside closes here. We got a minute and 12 seconds left on this 2-minute bar. Let's see what we get. All right, 35 seconds here. We do have a little flat bottom there. I mean, you guys see it's very obvious. Bit of a flat bottom. Let's see how this closes. "15 seconds out. Yeah, another inside rollover, it looks like. All right, on to the next bar. 2 minutes out. Watching this flat bottom. And I imagine there are a few stops there, so if we do break it, we'll probably dip to probably at least, I don't know, 40 or so. Just on stops, and then from there, it's up in the air. But again, I mean, this is a short-lived level, so you can't expect the stops to take you 10, 15, 20 points, because how many stops can really accumulate here in the last 15 minutes? Not a ton. Not a ton. See that? There we go. We got 2.5 points more than I expected. Down through 940. There was those stops getting taken out and quick reversion back up. Bulls saying, flat bottom. We got to retest that. I don't know about that. Probably had some limit buy orders, by the way, down here. People trying to get long on that break, which is totally reasonable. But for me, I'm not big on setting limit orders like that, because if we do see this break and it happens to be on news, I could get a fill and be instantly 50 points in the red. We've been seeing that a lot lately with tariffs, so I'm not really doing much of that lately, but you can see some bulls stepped in. Okay. All right, we got 20 seconds left here on this bar. Let's see. Till we get it close here. 10 seconds out. We get short ahead of there, and I'm gonna risk this curl here. We'll suck it up. There will be my protective stop. I'm gonna delete this, but we know it's there. And now we're driving manually. There you are. Basically just looking for a little retest of that flat bottom here. And finger on the hotkey. Ready to manage if needed. A bit of a doji bar. Gotta leave the trade on here. On to the next bar here. We're about a minute 50 out from the close. All right, minute 20 out here. Curious if the bulls can retake this little wick. There's a test. Again, my decisions get made. As far as early management like that, my decisions get made on the rollovers here. So we got 60 seconds left here on this 2-minute bar. "35 seconds out." Strong push here out of the bulls. And protective stop is there just in case we need it before, of course, the bar rolls over. Let's see here. If we get, again, you guys know, for early management, I'm looking, hey, if this is a setup I would get long on, I got to cut it early on the rollover. If it's not, I got to leave the trade on. So it totally depends how this bar closes. Let's see here. Pretty much above 72. On the rollover. Yeah, I'm going to cut it. Got to cut it. Pull it. Pull it. Move on. All right. All right. Bias is reset. On to the next. You guys see that? We just barely got to close above this wick high is what I was looking at. Had we seen a pullback, a bigger wick, and this closed like back here, it's like, all right, the bulls aren't so strong. But that's a reasonably strong close out of the bulls, which in that case, they were the enemy. So we pull it. We got to move on. All right, minute 30 out. Really right now, I mean, you guys see that? Yeah, you can see this. I'm watching this. This is a clear area. Right, and then, I mean, if you want to get really nitpicky, you could say, yeah, well, I think everyone's probably kind of looking at this kind of thing. But I don't want to draw too many lines. So, we know that all that's there, so I'll clean up the chart. I prefer clean charts. And we wait for the next setup. King Toon, pros and cons of joining your group. I don't have a group. But I do work with people one-on-one. Coaching. Alright, 5 seconds out. Yeah, you guys see that inside close of the previous bar's wick? There's nothing I can do there. Plus, we're kind of in the middle of the range. Gotta wait for the next bar. Jeff, curious if you can talk about that last entry, bull bar closing near the top, also near top of the range, and you shorted, correct? Betting against the breakout, yes. And if you see... Okay, so at the time, what we were really looking at was that, right? I was betting against the breakout, looking for a retest. We got close to what I would do to take profit, but we never really. And then this, you know, in hindsight, we did pull back into the range, but not before I had to cut it. So, yep. Betting against the breakout. Again, you just make the best decisions you can. And over time, the edge pays you. You guys are too worried about each individual trade. Not saying you, Jeff, but in general, you guys are too worried about each individual trade, especially if you want to be a scalper, man. You got to cut it and move on. And at the end of the month, you'll get paid. At the end of the week, you'll probably get paid. But you got to chill out about each individual trade. You just increase your cortisol and ruin your performance. All right, you see this inside close? So it's like, well, you know, what's everyone looking at? I'd say the bulls are probably looking at that. Bears are probably looking at something like this. That's where I would put the current range. If you look at the 5-minute, you can actually see it a little clearer. Right? I mean, this kind of thing. Hard to argue it's there. It's clearly there. I mean, both sides really have an argument right now. All right, back in 2. All right, we are back. Nico, given the sell-off this morning, would it be fair to say the bulls have a better case, or do you maintain neutrality? I am neutral. I am very neutral. Now listen, you could say, all right, well, let's look at the 5-minute. And, you know, if we look at the full day's range, you could say, well, I mean, maybe the bulls want to see at least a 50% retracement. And I would say, yeah, you're probably not wrong as far as making that assessment. Will it happen is another question. But in that way, I'd say, yeah, I can't argue with you there. The full day's range, we're in the low end of it, right? And then on smaller zoomed in, we have this little range now to deal with. At the full day's range, we're in the low end of it, okay? You know, but green on the day, I mean, if anything, that's like a 1 or 2% give that I'll give to the bulls. I have just found that developing any kind of intraday bias as far as directional, unless it's a trend market, just burns me. So I don't do it. And I think it just burns most people. Because it just distracts you from the more zoomed in price action that where the edge really lies. That's me. Do what gives you edge. Again, here on the flat, I'm sorry, on the 5-minute, we have this flat top here. Right around 89-ish. Keeping an eye on that. A minute 10 left on this 2-minute bar. No, Tron, you're only seeing, you're looking at the execution screen for my leader account, which my leader account, I always sacrifice one of my funded accounts. It's usually one of my Apex accounts. I just sacrifice it and I trade 1 micro with it so that I can ratio the rest of my accounts off a ratio of 1, off a baseline of 1. So for example, if I ratio 4x, that means I'm trading 4 micros in that account because the leader has 1. So you see on screen, it says 1, but the position window, when I pop this window out, that tells you the contracts up top when I'm in a position. Right now, I'm of course flat. Are you against moving stops to break even? And how does it mess with the probability? I'm not against anything. I'm not against shit. If it gives you edge, do it. 100%, straight up. But moving stops to break even is usually a psychological protector. When you look at someone's data who is trading for a long time not moving stops to break even and then trades for a long time moving stops to break even, and I've looked through a lot of trading data for people that I work with one-on-one. It doesn't necessarily make it better. It just makes the data look different. It doesn't really change the edge. What it does do is protect people psychologically, but it also, I've seen it trigger people, because if it stops you at a break even and then goes and hits your target, that can also be a trigger for some people. Depends on your personality type. Depends if you need that psychological crutch. For me, especially when scalping, I prefer to just manage as needed based on price action. But I'm not I know a lot of people like they move to break even every trade. No, psychological protector is all it is. It doesn't make the edge better. It just makes the data look different. That's all. All right, we got 90 seconds out till the rollover here of this 2-minute bar. Hey, brother, good to have you. Eternal, should I try futures on my trading platform to get a grasp before using a prop firm, or just learn on the prop firm? I think the cheapest, if you want to have some kind of money on the line, I mean, obviously, best, quote unquote, I'll just tell you what I tell my one-on-one people. Trade in the sim until you figure out your hotkeys and the broker makes sense to you and your platform is second nature. Then I do think it changes everything to have a little of your own money on the line. Now, how do you do so without having more than you would like to have on the line? Well, I mean, you can buy one cheap eval at Apex for 30 bucks and trade 1 micro in it and develop your edge that way, never risking more than your $30. Like, that's the cheapest way to find the edge. Real, what's your strategy? If I could answer this in less than 30 minutes, we have a fucking problem. We have a problem. If someone can say, I wait for this to happen and then I trade it and I make a living for the next 70 years, bullshit. You have to adjust based on every market environment. The strategy is what you guys see me doing every day. If you've watched for any longer than a couple of hours, you completely understand what I'm looking for. I determine, hey, what's the market inertia on the daily chart? What's the market inertia intraday? And then apply the setups to the market inertia right now. Trend on the daily. I'm sorry, range on the daily, range intraday. So we have range and range. Put my head down and scalp, mostly using limit orders. If we get decent continuation inside of the range with room, I'm using stop entries, right? There you go, Derek. The strategy is price action, which is a very big umbrella term. But that's the best answer. I mean, again, if I could sit here and say, I wait for this setup every day and it works every day. Bullshit. Not true. That's so basic. This is the big leagues. The big leagues are not basic, ever, in any industry. That's like saying, you know, that's like talking to an MLB pitcher. I'm not really a baseball guy, but this is the best comparison. It's like talking to an MLB pitcher and say, what's your pitch? I just throw fastballs every time. It's like, okay, that doesn't seem right. Yeah, because they don't. It's very strategic. You guys see this? We just talked about this. Here, look at the 5, it shows it better. See this little flat top? Bull's trying to test it right now. Let's see if they can break through. Again, this isn't a trend market, so you can't expect every break to just rip. But it's worth keeping an eye on, that 89 region. Just pull back. By the way, 20 EMA on the 5 minutes, currently at about 72. So keep an eye. It's lining up more or less a couple of points off from the 20 on the 2 minute. Very interesting close here. That's the test, the 20 on the 5 minute. Look there, there's a 5 minute chart. The more it gets tested throughout the day, by the way, the less I really care. Kind of loses its potency, let's say, the more tests that go on. So I'm more so just watching price action right now, less the 20 on the 5. You guys haven't yet, hey, subscribe to the channel, man. We're about to hit 101. Appreciate you doing so. $50 seconds out here from the rollover of this 2 minute bar. Top right of your screen is the 2 minute chart. Top left is the 5 minute. And daily there on the bottom. I realized the other day, not the other day, but like probably a couple weeks ago. You know what I realized? And it was one of those like, oh, that makes a lot of sense moments. Chicago sports teams, Cubs, Bulls, Bears. A lot of you guys are probably going to be like, you just realized this? And some of you guys are going to be like, no shit, that makes a lot of sense. The Cubs and the Bears have always made sense, because the Bears being named the Bears as a play off the Cubs, of course, that's clever, it makes a lot of sense. But then when the Bulls came along, I always assumed it was like Chicago has that reputation of like kind of a no bullshit city. Bulls makes sense. And then it hit me that Chicago is essentially the derivatives capital of the world. Strong ties to the markets, obviously. I mean, futures, options, they all kind of originated in Chicago. Chicago's the derivative city. New York City's the stock city, if you didn't realize that already. It hit me the other day. I was like, was having the Bears and the Bulls an intentional play on the market? Or was that, like, convenient after the fact? I was like, no shit, that makes a lot of sense. It's very cool if it was. I'm curious if that actually came into the play when selecting the Bulls as the basketball team. All right, let's see here. We got a minute 45 left here on this 2-minute bar. What about the Blackhawks? Yeah, we don't talk about them. Because that breaks my my thought process here about the markets. We just ignore them. All right, we got 65 seconds left here on this 2-minute bar. Yeah, there you go, V. We can tie it in. We can tie it in. 25 seconds. Seeing if we can get a nice strong bull bar closing near the high, though. To me, right now, we are clearly in a little ascending channel. All right, minute 30 out, getting a lot of inside closes here, here, here. I thought about buying the close of this. It was kind of aggressive. In hindsight, maybe skipping that was a mistake, but we just got to move on. Of course, in hindsight, but hindsight's irrelevant. All right, a minute 15. You can see here, you know the Bears are watching something like that. Got to keep an eye out for that. A little ascending channel. All right, 23,000 here. That's a tier 1 level. Yeah, Joe, you know, I'm not the guy that's on the couch every Sunday watching football. I'm not really like, I like sports. They're great, but I don't really spend much time watching sports. But Joe, my dream since I was a little kid has always been to see a Packers-Bills Super Bowl. All right, let's see. Gotta buy that rollover, gotta get long. Gotta get long. I'll put my stop right here. And we will pop that up and see if we can grab a little scalp. It was a test 23. Again, tier 1 level. We've already been here, though, today. Twice. So I'm not too worried about that on its own, to be honest with you. If anything, I don't mind actually getting long right ahead of it. Of course, we still got to pay attention to this. You know the bears are watching it. Yeah, I know that that's there, which is why I'm giving it room. Now, in this trade specifically, you know, taking on a little bit of heat, that's all right. Because again, if you're just joining us, we have a lot of new people in here today. We're just joining us. There's the bear case. Okay, but still, I want to participate to the long side here on this move for at least a scalp. But taking on a little bit of heat, that's just the bears saying, all right, you know, hang on. A little ascending resistance point. I'm cool with that. But still driving manually. Fingers on the hotkeys. Yes, Joey, correct. There was a 5-minute signal bar right on that rollover about a minute ago. Joe, did you drop 36 minis on this trade? Damn. There's a decent push. Nice little close out of the bulls. I'll take that. Yeah, bear's trying here. Alright, Bulls, a little strength would be appreciated here. A little more strength. Yeah, it's honestly not a terrible close out of the Bears. Not terrible, but not something that I would short if I were flat, so gotta leave the trade on for now. No early management on that bar. Dusty says, gotta love the Apex deal right now. Damn straight, man. 80% off. They just extended it, by the way, if you are new here. It was supposed to expire last night. They announced they extended it another couple of weeks. So code BIG, B-I-G, gives you 80% off, and you can pass in 1 day at Apex, which is a big deal. So you technically could trade evals this afternoon and be funded tomorrow if you wanted to. At Apex. Take profit is 40% off, no activation fee, but you still have to trade for 5 days. However, if you're trying to bootstrap going full time, take profit when you do go pro offers daily payouts. So it's probably the best to bootstrap going full time. Apex is best for scaling. That's the way I look at it. And driving manual here. We got a minute 25 left here on the 2-minute bar. Fingers on the hotkeys. There you go. There's the test of this little bottom of this channel here. Again, ascending channel. That's what I was talking about when I first entered. Taking on a little bit of heat here is not the end of the world. We did get some bit better of a push than those bears might have expected right at the beginning here. Toasty, can I trade only by seeing good people trading and just copying them? Not sure why you'd want to rely on another man for your family's income. I would never do that. And to be honest with you, I don't think it'll work very well. Because you and I are different people. You and somebody else are different people. You're not going to manage it the same. What are you going to do? Sit there and say, hand feed me the answers. I'm worried about my own trading. I mean, all due respect, right now I'm worried about me, not your trading. So I wouldn't, you know, why do you want to rely on another dude to take care of your family? All right, we got 36 seconds left here on both the 2-minute and the 5-minute bar. We do have an auction hitting here at noon. Protective stop is in place. That's noon central. All right, we got 90 seconds left on this 2-minute bar. Bears are trying to break this out. You see this below there? It's always going to be a range, by the way. So if they take out this wick low, time for me to cut it and move on. Which they are trying to do here. If this closed near the low of this bar, by the way, I would get short if it was below here. If it was below this wick low. Because then that ruins the idea of the ascending channel. And if that occurs, my protective stop is there anyway. So we're good to go as far as management here. There it is. They're going to snap that up. All right. Cut it there. Move on. Okay. Well, I got to say, it's about lunchtime for me, man. I'm going to come back in the afternoon. See if there's any scalps to hit. Yesterday, the afternoon was kind to me. This morning has not been great to me. But again, we'll come back in the afternoon and just make good decisions and see what we can do. All right, guys. Hey, heads up. Apex extended their sale 80% off. Single day pass, code BIG. Take profit if you're like, man, I'm trying to bootstrap going full time as quickly as possible. Daily payouts is going to be the answer there for you if you have a statistical edge. Same code BIG. Take profit is 40% off, which is way better than the deal they normally run, and no activation fee. All right. So we got a couple of great deals going on. Apex and Take Profit. Code BIG, BIG at both of them. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of the day. All right, see you soon. Be patient. Wait for it to come to you. And when it does, can hit it hard. All right, guys, see you tomorrow.